Right, over here I have a cover which goes over the chain of a spinning bike, and what happens here is we've got a crack here, and over here it is also broken. These are the attachment points. So just showing you a closer view, look at that, and this has a long crack running through all the way. You can see it's cracked right through, and I've super glued it, but super glue unfortunately is not going to be sufficient for this type of repair. And the reason why super glue is not going to work is because super glue is brittle. So if I had to put the screw here and screw it into the spin bike, we would find that if I bumped this with a foot or something like that, we would find that this would just snap off because the super glue is a brittle glue. So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate a melting, or some people call it a plastic welding, where I'm going to use a soldering iron to heat up the section in order to melt the two plastics together to get that flexibility back. Now, for example, if I want to just show you, this has been super glued, it is dry, it's been in the sun, and look at this, it will just snap right off, and this is why we can't use super glue, because it will not offer a long-term repair. So in order to repair this, I do want to put super glue here just to hold it in place, but the actual repair, what's going to be the main strength, is going to be the plastic welding. So I'm going to put a little bit of super glue here just to make sure that this is in place, and I'll just add a little bit of extra strength. Now I'm just going to first start with gluing it. Now the way that I use the super glue is I put some on a piece of paper like that, and the reason I do that is because I don't want to take the super glue and just go like this. We end up having a lot of spillage. It'll mark the side of the cover here. So I'm just going to put my super glue. I'm actually just painting it on with my screwdriver. And there you can see there's no spillage. I'm putting it on this way. In this way, if there is too much, gravity will pull it down rather than seeping out on the top here. Right, so there's the super glue, and I'll just have to hold this in place for 30 seconds. Now, the point of this video is to show you the plastic welding. So I'm now going to turn this upside down and show you how I do the plastic welding. Right, you will need a soldering iron. You don't have to have an elaborate solder station like this. You can just have a regular soldering iron. And then one of the problems with doing the plastic welding is it does tend to age the bit. So use your worst bit, or the bit that's got the most damage on it. Make sure you've got a sponge. Here's a sponge, it's wet, and this just helps to clean it. At times some of the plastic gets stuck on the tip. Now over here I've set the temperature. I've set it to about 375 degrees. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to join this piece of plastic to this piece of plastic. And I definitely do not want the soldering iron to go through the plastic to the other side. So I've got to be careful, and I can't hold the soldering iron here for too long, otherwise it will actually start to bubble on the other side. Now a good idea is if you've got a little bit of extra plastic from somewhere, that is very helpful. So for example, instead of just smearing this plastic onto that plastic, I'm actually going to take a bit of plastic and just using my soldering iron, just burn through it and let this plastic be the joining piece. So there you can see, right, so there's the piece of plastic and it's now melting, and I'm going to put it between the two pieces which are separated by that crack. If it's easier, you can just cut pieces of plastic. Right, so I've cut a few pieces of plastic, and all I need to do is to melt it and join it to both sides. Now, when you are doing the plastic welding, make sure that you are in a well-ventilated room. Now, see how I'm actually mixing the three plastics together. It's a good idea if you can use the same type of plastic. Right, so what I'm doing now, as you can see how now just joining these two plastics by holding my soldering iron in place and then lifting and lifting and lifting and lifting. And then I'm actually like smearing it around, and then I basically paint it back down. Now, it's very important in plastic welding is that you do hold the soldering iron down for a little bit to make sure that you do manage to heat up all the plastic there, and that does melt and join with the other plastic. Right, over here there's a post which actually makes it easier, so I can weld onto a larger surface area. and there I'm holding it on to the section there. This is out of sight, so it doesn't matter if it gets a bit deformed. Most important is that the plastic melts and joins with the other plastic. Now the reason for the wet sponge is to clean your tip. There you can see I've cleaned it and I can continue. Notice that along the crack I'm making sure that the two plastics are joining together. Now if I leave it like that, yes, it is welded together, but it's a weak spot because it is only welded on the back of that crack, and that is one of the reasons why I use the extra plastic to build up that section. Now take your finger and make sure you're always feeling the back here. If it's getting very hot at the back, it means it's going to warp. So you've got to be careful of that. It's very important to hold the soldering iron here for long enough that it does definitely melt the plastic, but not too long that it starts to warp the plastic and then it will look funny from the other side. Right, so there's my plastic welding. It does need a bit of time to cool down. Be careful of touching it right now. It's still very hot. While this is drying, I just give a few tips. The first one is always keep flipping this so that you can see the other side just in case it is warping. The other tip is you might find that because you're doing the plastic welding, it might be moving. It might move a little bit, and that is one of the reasons why I first glued it with super glue just to hold it in place, but even so, it may have moved. Very important to keep checking, turn it the right way around, keep checking to see if it's still in place. For example, there it's still in place. Right, and I'm also going to fix this one. You can see how this is damaged over here, there. So I'm going to quickly do some plastic welding over here. Right, so here's the repair. Right, so I'm going to try and bend this just to show you how strong it is. Look at that, the whole back part there is moving. The piece here is not breaking off like it was before, so it's not brittle, and that's the whole point, is this is not brittle. Even if I take the back of this heavy duty screwdriver, notice it will not break. I'm basically whacking it and it won't break, and the reason being is it's got that flexibility now. Now the other repair is here, and as you can see, it is holding its own. It is no longer broken. Now you might be wondering, what about using Q-bond or an epoxy, things like that? Well, these work very well, but they are also brittle in most instances, and one of the main problems with epoxy is that it doesn't bond to plastic very well. So you might find you're lucky if it's a certain type of plastic, you've made it very rough and you've put your epoxy, it might work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. With the plastic welding, it works very well. What you can do if you really want to make it strong is, now that I've done the plastic welding, I can go over this here with epoxy or a powder bond. For example, here's a similar item to the Q-bond. What you do is it uses the filings. I can just put some over here around the place where it was broken, and then I just drop a drop of super glue over it in a few places, and that just adds that extra support. However, as I said, when these dry, they are also brittle, and that is why I do the plastic welding first. All right, I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching, and cheers.